How many people here have heard of innocent drinks? Good. That means I can skip over the first 60 slides and get to the interesting stuff. So what am I going to talk about today? I'm going to, now that I've established you all know who we are, still going to talk a little bit about who Innocent is, a bit of history, talk about the values of the organisation and how they guide us in the decisions that we make. Because we've touched on it already, a little bit about the emotional side of innovation delivery. And if you really want a take-home for today, then I would suggest your values and your moral compass are the next most important thing after your great solution. Any other biscuits and exercise will be covered too. So, by now, it's 2015, you have been immersed in 15 years worth of cute sayings on the bottom of packets. Perhaps a slightly older brotherly tone in the way that you've been washing your hair or driving your car. We like to think that a lot of this chatty conversational style of marketing has come from Innocent Drinks. This is our wall of love. If you were to take up our invitation on the side of every bottle and come to Fruit Towers, you would see the wall of love on your tour. This is all material made for us by our drinkers, completely unsolicited, including a hot water bottle cover and blanket. We try and leave things a little bit better than we found them. So whether that's striving to be a sustainable brand through securing sustainable ingredients, producing things as easily and efficiently as possible, using as little water and energy as possible, trying to use the most sustainable packaging. We have 50% rPET in our bottles at the moment. We're striving to make up the difference with plant-derived material. We want to leave a sustainable legacy, and we think one of the best ways to do that is through two major programs. First of all, the Big Knit. So the Big Knit is one of the most successful cause-led marketing programs in the UK. That's not me saying that, that's many external bodies who do. So what you need, the magic formula for this, is a guy called New Adam. We already had an Adam Ballon on the payroll, so when he got his email account, he was just called New Adam. And he came up with the idea that if people, older people were cold in wintertime and couldn't afford to pay their heat bills, then we should do something that links the public consciousness with that issue. So he suggested that we invite the public to knit little tiny hats. And those hats would go on our bottles, and for every bottle that we sold with a hat on, we would give 25p to Age UK. We had our biggest year last year where we had 1 million hats in the UK alone. Now, we don't pay anybody to do this. We just suggest at about this time of year, would you like to knit a small hat? We help people on our website with patterns, we get celebrity engagement, and actually it's a really huge deal. So it helps old people directly. We also have our own charitable foundation. We have 4 pillars, whether it's seed funding, so we partner up with other charities like Send a Cow, and Hothouse, the investment that's already there to fundamentally change food poverty and food security in target nations such as Uganda. Whether we deal with food poverty locally in the UK through various charities in Glasgow, London. Breakthrough development, we're actually spending money on research to change the way early triggers of malnutrition are identified so that they can be avoided altogether. And we also participate in emergency hunger relief through DEC. And that's like sending food parcels to people experiencing earthquakes or typhoons. So that's who we are. A little bit of history. So one of the wonderful things about being invited to speak about Innocent is the story actually does begin in 1999 with 3 university friends who had been going on snowboarding holidays every year, having exactly the same conversation. We should stop all of this corporate stuff and we should sell our smoothies. So they went to a music festival, put 2 bins in front of a stand, one saying yes, one saying no. The question being, do you think we should quit our highly paid jobs in marketing and consultancy and sell these products for a living? The saying goes, because I wasn't there in '99, that the yes bin was completely full and there were 3 bottles in the no bin. And who put the no bottles in? Adam, John, and Rich's mums. They were being paid quite a lot. We stayed true to ourselves. That girl there is called Rowena, and she is on the banana phone. If you ring the banana phone number, we say, "Hello, innocent banana phone." And we have achieved big things by staying true to ourselves. So way back in the beginning, we had 3 products: mango and passion fruit, strawberry and banana, pineapple, banana, and coconut. And we now have all of these products. And a little bit of controversy. So in 2009, Coke bought a 30% stake in the organisation. And there was all kinds of call-outs of innocent have sold out, that's it, not so innocent now, all that sort of thing. And I absolutely love this picture. It's actually from a French newspaper. But I quite like the idea of being consumed entirely, if not figuratively, by a Coke can. And I have to say that we are still an autonomous, wholly owned, but autonomously run organisation, and very able to continue to be innocent. Where do we trade? Well, we're actually available in 12 countries, and we're also available in Moscow. So next time you're in Moscow, there's a chain of premium supermarkets, and you can get our smoothies and juices there. All of our growth at the moment, though, is coming from these territories in Europe. And we want to be Europe's favourite little juice company. How will we do that? Well, just like any commercial organisation, we have purpose and vision and values. And our purpose is to make natural, delicious food and drink that helps people live well and die old. Living a bit better than they do right now, making it easy for them to make the right choice for themselves. We intend to be the Earth's favourite little healthy food and drinks company, and the word little there is really important to us. We don't want to do it in a big, commercial, scary way. We want to do it in the way that our drinkers are most comfortable. And we will do it by observing these values of natural, entrepreneurial, responsible, commercial, and generous. So I want to talk a little bit more about values now. So, who here is consciously aware of their values? A few brave souls. I don't know if you've ever come across this concept, but values can be thought of very much as an iceberg. So it's actually quite rare that we would all be consciously aware of all of our values, because they actually sit very far down, very far down. But what people are very likely to pick up on are the things that we believe in. And our beliefs, if you like, are like the interface between a deep structure of values and a surface behaviour. And of course, we see people's behaviour, don't we? And we see the behaviour of a brand. And the behaviour of a brand comes from somewhere. And we like to believe it's from our values. So whether your values are service or excellence or responsibility, like ours are, you will find that there is a direct connection with the values of the organisation and the expression of the brand and the organisation in the outside world. So I think you would agree if there was a brand who personified honesty, that would be an easy one to buy into, right? And a brand that had not got that value and was not expressing the value of honesty, just to pick up on Hillary's earlier points about responsible innovation, that would be a brand that would be difficult to interface with, right? So these are all principles that we understand, really. So let's go back to innocent values. Now, these values are painted onto the wall of our meeting space downstairs in the chill out. So picture the scene. There is AstroTurf for carpet, there are picnic tables, and on the wall are painted these values. Now, these values are actually the way that we measure all of our decision making, but also actually all of our employees. How do we do that? Obviously, we have to decode what they mean. So being natural could just mean that I don't add any artificial additives. And whilst that's true, that's very difficult to understand if you work in the finance department and you're responsible for the ledger, right? So we talk about being yourself and being the best version of it, bringing your A game. We talk about being entrepreneurial. If you're 70% sure, then go for it. And what does that mean, really, being 70% sure? It means being 30% unsure is okay. 30% is quite a lot, isn't it? It's like nearly a third. Like nearly a third, not sure. And we're happy with that. And as a line manager or a leader like myself, whether it's the chief executive or it's somebody in finance, we're deadly serious. If your gut is telling you to go in that direction, then go in that direction. It's better to apologize than wait for permission and lose the opportunity. That's entrepreneurialism. We want people to be responsible, don't we? Going back to that principle of responsible innovation, we want to do it for the right reason, absolutely. We want to connect with a social purpose. We don't just want to run away with ourselves and do things that are right for our organisation only, because that won't be sustainable. We have a very, very young workforce. Our staff average age is all comfortably below 30, from my perspective. And we encourage them to negotiate. That's actually quite difficult with a younger group of people who are looking for certainty in all of their interactions. But we believe that being commercial is really important for the overall health of the organisation. And then very finally, it's about being generous. So as some of you are speakers over this 2-day event, you've found the generosity to share what you know with other people who would really like to hear about it. You'll be changing the hearts and minds of those people by sharing what you know. So these acts of generosity, whether they're sharing experience or doing something for the foundation or doing something for your local charity, running a marathon, these are all important traits to be expressing within an organisation. So how do we do that? Because that's obviously going to take up a lot of energy and a lot of time. We absolutely have to be the same inside our organisation as we are outside. And how do we do that? Because we've got introverts as well as extroverts. Not everybody wants to stand in front of a room of 100 or so people talking about the business. So we try and make the environment as reassuring as possible. We have a memory wall that goes around our stairwell. So again, if you come in for the tour, and I recommend that you do, you'll see that we've logged all of our most key moments as we go up the stairs. Why have a corkboard for reminders when you can have an atlas? We invite people to comment on these boards, but we also talk about the people who've been in the office. You know, when Annie Lennox came in, we obviously put it on there for everyone else to see afterwards. But there's lots of irreverent stuff, you know. Would it be better to have Jaffa cakes for hands or Kit Kats for feet? I do expect an answer. That's the chill out. That's the innocent we-ometer. Still makes me smile, and I think after working there for nearly 3 years, to still find something that's on the wall funny is a sign of how we can get really, really close to humour without going too far and still keeping it relevant for the brand. We have a Lego wall near the IT team, they're delighted. We have our baby photos in the chill out. Having your baby photo on display when you're having a meeting is a lot about reminding people not to take themselves too seriously and to be playful with the brand. And that's really important because the moment we go all corporate will probably be the moment that we're not innocent anymore. Now, we get invited to speak at events like this. So there's Tim Dorset talking about what makes a happy workplace, and there's Joe McEwen talking about staying big, small. We tweet a lot. So this is us tweeting about World Rhino Day, and you're quite right. We don't know a lot about rhinos, but we got an awful lot of coverage by supporting this worthy cause. We also tweeted about the Great British Bake Off. Who watches the Great British Bake Off? Yeah, cracking show. Should be on the whole time. You see those red arrows? Those are peaks in Twitter activity with our account based on these tweets. So those red arrows basically represent Wednesday evenings. And we don't just tweet. Sometimes we're really quick on the game. So when the last innocent Apple, when the last Apple product went out, and there were queues all around the Apple store in central London, we sent somebody with a sandwich board with this printed on and did a product giveaway. And as you can imagine, we got a lot of activity from the people tweeting on their old version Apple phones while they were waiting to get into the store. So it's not just about staying within our box, but actually thinking about the potential, the opportunity, the reasons and ways to connect with people. Which is really useful when this happens. So those of you who aren't familiar with labelling legislation will know that to call something fruit juice, it needs to be juice from fruit. And you can't add anything else, and you can't take anything away, because then you can't call it juice anymore. So when the Daily Mail, for example, runs an article like this, you've got nowhere to go, have you? Because what's in fruit? Sugar. And then you get headlines like this. So a smoothie's got the same amount of sugar as 3.5 donuts. I didn't realize that donuts were a standardized unit of sugar, but apparently they are. And let's forget about the fat and everything else that's in a donut, right? Or this is my favorite. This was actually in The Guardian, normally a good newspaper-ish. A smoothie has the same amount of sugar as 2 1/3 meringues with cream. What size are these meringues? You know, the scientist in me wants to know, really? How are you drawing that conclusion? So I then have to go all the way back, don't I? This, as an organisation, we have to think, right, so how can we engage the consumer? They're being told this stuff. So we have to think, right, we've only got fruit in the bottle. As ambassadors of 5 a day, how are we going to counter this? We look to government statistics, and we find that 2/3 of the UK adults do not achieve 5 a day. Okay. We find out that 9 out of 10 UK adolescents are not achieving their 5 a day. So you start to think, hold on a minute, that's an issue already. And if people are scared of drinking juice, then they're not getting their 5 a day from juice either. We start to make the problem worse. A glass of juice actually has 1/3 of your vitamin C requirement for the day. That's a 150 ml glass. That's hardly anything, as you will depressingly find out when you go home and measure out 150 mils. It's a lot smaller than the glasses in your cupboard. Is one of your 5 a day if it's a juice, and if it's a smoothie, because the smoothie contains 5 different fruits and half of it is puree, it's 2 portions of 5 a day. So for those of you who won't have achieved your 5 a day at lunch and may not have had any fruit for breakfast, actually an innocent smoothie is quite a good way, just for today, of cheating and catching up. So what else could I do? I could actually look into the science. So we have actually done a piece of work with the Oxford Brookes University to look at whether or not there's any fibre left in our smoothies. And the exciting thing, and it's an independent report, which we'll be publishing in Q1 next year, is that actually the fibre is present in similar quantities and in a similar state as though you chewed the fruit yourself. So I think you'll all agree you can't swallow a whole apple, and therefore a smoothie must therefore be nearly as good as eating the whole fruit. I wouldn't advocate you have one every day instead of whole fruit, but we have to start getting real and stop focusing on sugar as a single issue and food as something we can all interact with. So first principles then. Do your own homework and be really, really sure about why you are who you are. Make sure it connects with your values. If you can, find a burning platform. So the National Diet Nutrition Survey gives us all of this information and tells us the scale of the issue that we're facing, tells us how important it is as a brand to stick up for fruit. Because that's all it is, squashed fruit in a bottle. The first principle is the World Health Organization did a huge amount of work decades ago demonstrating the value of eating 5 fruits and vegetables a day. 400 grams is a lot, but it's not that much. And it does have so many benefits. And that then helps us to link back round to our promise. So taste good, does good. Now, we have absolutely to win the hearts and minds over, first of all, of the people within the organisation. So it staggered me when we started. Very few people within our organisation really understood how we made our products. So we've gone on a huge education programme internally to bring people with us. They're a tiny, thin slice of society, so don't miss the opportunity to use your own organisation to pilot your communications. And hopefully you'll end up with something as compelling as this. That's so much longer without music. Unfortunately, music didn't play that time, but it's really compelling. Now, you might think, yeah, well, someone who squashes fruit into a bottle for a living probably would stand up and say, it's time that people consumed more fruit. And we did sell 750 million portions of fruit last year, that's true. But that's only enough for 15 portions per person in the whole of the UK for last year. So there's a huge opportunity for Innocent, but actually there's a huge opportunity for people in the UK to eat a lot better as well. So exciting times for a brand that can be values-led, to be natural, entrepreneurial and responsible, generous and commercial. I promised you some exercise. So at the end of every Monday morning meeting, we go all the way back to the creation of Innocent Drinks, where there were just 7 employees, and we have an exercise that's led by someone at the front. So I'd like you all to stand, please. And we'll just do a really, really simple yogic exercise where we praise the sun god, whichever he's called, by putting our arms in the air like this. Yes, shirts all untucking as we speak. And then bring our arms back down into the front, and then clap. Thank you very much.
It's going to go on YouTube, isn't it?
Hi, Simon. You had your worry from over there. In fact, you won't be worried for 10 minutes, but it's coming. Any questions, please, for Simon? Yes, sorry.
Oh, sorry.
Simon, when you did your research to support and back up the evidence of the amount of fibre that remained and all of those types of research projects, how did you approach funding your own research and how to sort of getting independent research that would be more credible rather than just funding your own and everyone would think, oh, well, they would do that, they paid for it?
You pose a really, really important question, and it is a real challenge. Nobody wanted to do research into smoothies' fibre content, and there's really very few opportunities for a commercial organisation to make science happen. So what we did actually was we worked in confidence with Oxford Brookes, just in the intention of proving it to ourselves first. And now that we have this proof, we're actually doing another piece of work to gather some more data points, and then we will publish it. And people will then be free to read it, criticise it, challenge it in any way, but at least then it will be a citable point for us. But it's so difficult. And then, of course, the first criticism is, well, it would say that because they would want it to say that. But science is science. We're not in the lab. We're in Ladbroke Grove selling stuff. The lab is doing its own protocols. So my view would always be team up with credible scientists, allow them to do their own thing and agree to publish whatever they say. And that's probably as open and transparent as you can be.
Yeah.
Please.
Thank you, Simon. I don't know whether you have come across a recent publication, so this is no question, this is a remark, because I'm also fighting at the juice front, and for juice, of course, not against it. And I have come across a publication, a very recent publication of Julian Aschoff from the University Hohenheim, Stuttgart-Hohenheim, and he has even demonstrated that processed fruit, processed into juice, has a higher bioavailability for many micronutrients than the fruit itself. And he showed it at the example of cryptoxylenin and other carotenoids. So a very interesting piece of science, and has been published in a peer-reviewed journal, and maybe this is also of some help.
It's very reassuring to read. Current label legislation really doesn't permit a claim. And so what you're left with doing is using bloggers, dare I say it,
That's what it is.
to disseminate the information. And to that end, we work very closely with some credible scientists who are bloggers, and we also engage in very challenging roundtables with independent dietitians who, again, if they choose to speak positively about the science, all to the better for the juice industry.
Brian?
Thank you.
Just a quick question. I'm a little bit out of date with you, but my recollection is that you talked a little bit about being the best small food company as well as drinks. I think around about 2013, you went into food and you took a huge hit. Your profits dropped pretty dramatically, which is, I mean, that's commercial, that's life. Would you say that having the backing of somebody like Coca-Cola gives you more commercial resilience to be able to, I'm not suggesting Coke bailed you out at all, but you're 97% owned by them, gives you more commercial resilience and allows you to embark on that sort of thing, whereas as a small company you wouldn't have been able to?
So I think if you're referring to veg pots, they actually came out in 2008, and we've delisted them now. We are trying to focus our attention on being Europe's favourite little juice company, and unfortunately, successfully and robustly managing vegetarian meals in such a competitive market that's changing was too distracting from our main goal. We have to keep the main thing. In terms of, does it get easier if you have a big brother, or frankly, you're wholly owned by one of the largest corporations in the world? The simple answer is, of course it is better. However, we have to make a profit. We have to meet certain targets. We have to play the game. It's not just free money. We have to be a viable organisation, and we're measured just as any subsidiary would be. But of course, it's an insulation against the future, without a doubt.
Last question, Neil, please.
In the commercial world, I think it's fair to say that innocent equals fun. Therefore, I'm wondering what sort of impact or reaction you got to your video that you just played for us without the sound. It was fun until it got to the part about cancer and all the nasty things that can happen to you without drinking your juice. How did that fit with your image?
Well, the simple answer is it's not something that we share with consumers, not yet. It's a challenge, but it's a reality. All of those people die because they have a poor diet. And the simplest thing to do is correct that. And the simplest thing to do to correct it is to make people aware that eating fruit and veg is a good idea. So that was a video that we share internally and with a learned audience, like one here. One for consumers would probably be a stepwise approach.
Okay, because it's one that I say, I don't say don't do it, but try and keep the fun image, and that can be difficult when you suddenly have cancer and heart disease and all the rest of it.
I don't disagree, but we've always encouraged people to live well and die old, so dying has always been part of our language.
Okay, Simon, thank you very much.
Thank you.